on our screen studies class. I'm Jack Wallace, and to go around the rest of my crew first, before we get to me.
Hi, I'm Ruth Mian. My pronouns are she, her.
Hi, I'm Sanvi Singh. My pronouns are also she, her.
Hello, I'm Jacob. I use he, him.
Hello, I'm Georgi, and I also go by he, him.
Once again, I'm Jack, and I'm the token black person of the cast, and I use they, them pronouns.
All right, so this week we watched the film Shiva Baby, directed by Emma Seligman. Here we have at a Jewish funeral service with her parents, a college student runs into her sugar daddy and ex-girlfriend, and chaos ensues.
That's close to summary.
Huh?
That's dangerously close to summary. Forgive us, human.
Should I? Sorry. Should we restart or?
No. It's okay. It's okay.
Just
Okay.
roll with it.
I was just gonna quote it that way to make it easier, but that's my bad. All right. As the resident Jew here, I'm gonna have our discussion on Jewish anxiety attack be simulator, Jewish anxiety attack simulator, aka Shiva Baby. Begin with Ruth.
Okay, so we're kicking off the themes with basically Shiva Baby's Shiva Baby's mise-en-scène, augmenting the theme of how this transition to adulthood is like being born again. You slide out of your mom's room, you're screaming, you're crying, everything is brand new to you, but except as an adult, you have this expectation to keep it in you, to have it all figured out. But in the end, you're gonna be fine. It has that level of comfort, but Shiva Baby, oh my God, it got a little bit too real at times, I'm not gonna lie.
But had moments where I couldn't breathe because of the scenes were too intense. Like it was a lot of simulation going on.
Yeah, when you have camera work that's so zoomed in on someone's face, it feels like you're almost like inside their head at times.
And you can feel how stuffy the room is with the crowding of the extras. Whoever directed those extras did a good job. You could feel their breath on her shoulder. Every single time she's walking, she's bumping into somebody. When she's at food, there's somebody like pressed against her back. It just amplifies this feeling of claustrophobia.
Yeah, the tension is so palpable. You don't even need a horror movie. You know, Shiva Baby is my new horror movie.
She is the horror movie.
All my relatives in a room at once at the same time. That does sound like a nightmare. That sounds scary.
Yeah.
It is for many.
Especially when you're at that point of your life, when you're supposed to have it all figured out, but like you don't.
And it's following a funeral service, so that's awesome. Yeah.
A funeral that you didn't go to.
Yeah, so you don't even know what's going on, and you're supposed to know all these people who you haven't seen in years.
And you're just holding your flimsy little black plate and piling some potato salad. I think she's just like piling potato salad, and then she slides it off.
She slides it back.
She slides
it's technically safe to do at this point.
It is. But like, these people have been drinking. There are like an array of bottles of every way, shape, and form.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes on like I mean like that there's just gonna be Manischewitz bottles stacked somewhere, and I mean, you know, and on the Jewish holiday Passover, you drink like 4 glasses of wine as like the minimum is the way. And a lot of people don't adhere to that, but that's what the holiday is based around. And I think that that the environment really plus the drinking becomes just a space of gossip nonstop.
Since we're actually talking about wine, like I just wanted to like bring back the symbolism of the color red in the film. Like
Mm.
it's all over the place. Like how Ruth, you mentioned how it's like the journey of someone like it's sort of like a coming of age into adulthood. And that's what like got me thinking of the color red. And like especially one of my thoughts during the movie was how red was the wine. Like I have seen wine before, I've seen red wine before, but I've never seen such a bright shade of wine, like which was in the movie. And
Yeah.
I wanna connect that to like one of the things I noticed, which was like one of the scenes where Danielle is like talking to her relatives and like she's being like ambushed by relatives. But at the same time, her sugar daddy enters the room with his daughter, and like the whole situation is like super tense because she's seeing that baby for the first time, and all that does to her is bring anxiety. And that the glass the I feel like the symbolism for the red, like the wine glass here is just off the charts, because you only see that first of all, you only see that glass in frame when you see a point of view of her looking at the baby. And the glass is like, the wine is so red, and it just like constantly keeps on reminding you, like the audience as well as like her, of that the anxiety that's going on like in that room, like the tension which she's feeling right now, and like the fear of like what like her situation is in that room is literally like shown through that red of the wine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Miss has been chugging that wine the entire, like she's been chugging it for like 2 hours. And not only that, when he comes in when he enters the house, they also have these stained glass windows,
Mm.
and the sunlight reflects through those stained glass windows, which has like a majority red kind of glass,
Mhm.
and it frames his head. So even though he's not in focus, you can see his silhouette and you can be like, yeah, that's the sugar daddy. That's it's
Yeah.
oof, that is
Uh,
the sugar daddy.
a fun thing about they can't actually have alcohol on set, so they have to do some weird colorations and
Mhm.
substitutes to water with what red
I
dye.
guess
And
it's grape juice.
that is true, but I was thinking that if that is a deliberate, if we do treat it as a deliberate thing, which we will, I think that was a really good choice to do with the wine.
Mhm.
Just thought that was clever.
I'd also add, there's right before this scene where the really intense scene where she walks in, and while her ex-girlfriend, Danielle's ex-girlfriend, um, is in the restroom, you see this just bright red lampshade that just sticks out like a sore thumb. And then the baby's also in a red leotard, and it's right before like the arguably climax of the and most intense part of the movie, where the uh, lie kind the lie or the mystery finally gets discovered by someone other than the viewer and Danielle.
Like it's been creeping, the lie has been creeping up behind her all this time. Like, and I think that's and it's also represented by that gorgeous red.
Mhm.
And an example is like, those little window stickies that you get like for decorating?
Oh yeah,
Was
Yeah.
a maple
yeah.
red sticky while she was talking to Maya. She was
Mhm.
talking to Maya, and that red maple sticky was right there. It's behind her, like it's always like right there, and
Mhm.
it's like taunting her. It is
Yeah.
taunting her.
Like that red behind her, like it's the constant like reminder of her anxiety, like just the fact that her secret is still there and no one knows her, like it's like lurking there, and like just like making her feel more claustrophobic in those situations, just like the nervousness and the like. I feel like that's why the baby also plays such an important role. Like every time the baby's screaming and like everyone's attention on that baby, and like that red is like right in your face, and like it's just like, especially when you see it through the point of view shots of Danielle.
And like there's like the movie's mise en scène also fleshes out how Danny like questions those decisions and I think Georgie has like probably has the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me take the lead on this one. I feel like throughout the movie, it really highlights. Oh, I shouldn't have said
You
throughout. Damn. In the movie, um, Danielle is she's so different from everybody else. She's kind of like an imposter. And I think especially when you see the scene where she paces around the house and there's these like slow panning shots of different family pictures, children's pictures, and statues. You see this as a house of tradition. And Danielle basically disobeys all of those traditions and goes on to have a kind of crisis because her reality directly violently contradicts the realities of those people around her. And I feel like as she sees these pictures of children and she confronts that baby that keeps crying, it's less so about the feeling of paranoia, but also it's more about the idea that she one day will become or will have to take on responsibilities like the older people around her. She might have to become a mother when she sees that baby, or she might, on the contrary, not want to be a mother at all. And she sees all of this happening around her, and she has this complete, you know, cluster explosion.
And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's like the reality that Emma Seligman, I forgot her last name, that Emma Seligman just brings us into with again that cluster, the house. Everything is arranged and you can see these pictures on the wall clearly drawn by children, but none of it feels fake. Like you can like the moment I saw those aluminum foils, I'm like, yeah, that's takeout. They're bringing back takeout. And you contrast it to Max, which is sugar daddy, to Max's house when they're doing the devil's tango. You see his house and it's like this modern minimalism, which is supposed to be the pinnacle of success. It is success, but then it seems so fabricated. Like even the mess on the table with the books
The
slightly split,
clutters.
it's clutter, but it's supposed to be like I'm so quirky kind of clutter.
Yeah, no, I think there's so much pressure going on being in a Jewish household that the film captures really well, not also with the dialogue. However, the interesting thing about the mise en scène is like at any time that unless it's super zoomed in, there's always people in the background just for the staging. I think having that just creates the environment that you have to be held up to the standard. Everyone's watching what and wondering where you are at this stage in life. And um, it's like everything you do is being judged.
You know,
I
to add on to that, actually, if you think about the beginning of the movie where she's in the office with her sugar daddy, and then when she is at the Shiva, well, even though, the office is fake, she feels more like she can be herself because it's just her and her sugar daddy. And then once she comes to the Shiva, it's almost like the house is designed to be
Yeah,
facilitating interactions. So she has nowhere to run.
the I
Yeah.
think uh on the top the concept of being like stuck and nowhere to run, I think that's really well showed in her really like tight white button down shirt that she feels kind of caved in by and eventually literally takes off entirely in the restroom, and this kind of feeling of needing to escape versus her like kind of extremely like thin strap bra like in with with the when she's working with her client, um, just feels so much more relaxed in her movement versus uh, stuck up. She has her hair in a bun. There's so many details. She has like probably the most. She's simultaneously one of the most put together and struggling to fit in people.
And like
Taking off from what Jacob just said, like I was wondering how like she like she's already not comfortable within like her clothes when she walks into the Shiva, and throughout like the whole like like the process of what's going on, she becomes more and more and more disheveled. Like that scene where like she gets um like the nail thing that gets stuck in her tights, and then the tights come off. Like you see her like mentally being disheveled at the same time, like her clothes are becoming way more like out of place. Like when she comes out of the bathroom, literally her button up from here goes up there. Like from like her mental state is literally like being represented through her clothing. And
it's
like
the
at the same
costume.
time, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, the coffee spills, and then like towards the end, like it's just like a complete contrast to the house, like which is like proper and traditional, and then just it just shows how she's just struggling to fit in.
Yeah,
And I want
oh, you
sorry.
go.
And so like I actually wanted to steer this to you, Jacob, because your one of your theses was the use of accessories.
Yeah. I think for our main character, besides the earrings, which are very simple silver earrings, because I feel like that could represent how she is like kind of not sure what she actually wants to do. She's like, I can be this or that. But I think the entire movie is kind of told through our main character Danielle's hair. The just the way it changes from the bun with like or starting just all the way down to with the sugar daddy to the bun, and then later we have just it just becomes progressively messier as the story gets messier. I think we for the other characters you can pay a lot of attention to the dad's glasses. As like a person who does character design and animation, I was paying a lot of attention to like this dad with these, because he's just kind of sweet, and he doesn't seem like he's wanting to cause trouble. He's just in his own world. He has these very circular glasses. The mom has these glasses that make her eyes look bigger.
Like the
Um,
horned glasses, yeah.
Pointy.
And
yeah,
add onto the dad, he like what made him look at the tie with like the red and the swirls, and he's like, "That's my funeral tie."
yeah. The
That's the tie.
the tie and the beige suit just don't go together at all.
It's a
He's
statement.
trying his best, you know.
Well,
He's trying to be an
it has to
icon.
have red.
It had to
Yeah.
have red
It
though.
had to have red.
The red is
Um,
mandatory.
and then I think the most fun accessorizing is with all the old Jewish ladies. You have the really older lady Debbie with the giant blue glasses that
Debbie's
are
the
way too
mom.
big for her face.
Debbie is actually the mom.
Okay, Debbie's the mom then, who that was,
The grandma was Sheila, I think.
yeah, Sheila.
It's hard to keep track,
Thank
which
you.
I guess is the point, but also
Like because like they feel like a mob. Like they're just one voice. Like all of these aunties, like they're
Yeah,
basically the
yeah,
same
no.
in a different font. Like
Mhm.
you could tell like their jewelry is slightly clunky. Like
Yeah, no, you have
rather than
one
interest, they
like
have
10 bracelets over that she puts one hugging over her shoulder. Then you have one lady who's just like, oh, when she's like at her stressed, oh, how have you been? I haven't talked to you yet. And she's like, I need to go. And she has this just giant black necklace that's just in front of your face, and it just creates this exaggeration that you feel with this whole world uh, just kind of consuming her.
and like
I think
like
what's
oh sorry. No. Georgia,
Oh,
you go.
okay. I think what's interesting is that Danielle kind of seems to stick out as a sore thumb from this whole environment of conglomerate gossiping. Um, all of these
Yeah,
all of
she
these
wants nothing
people,
to do with it.
All of these people are just on the same wavelength of just talking about their lives and wanting to, and all of them are curious about what Danielle is doing, but she wants Nanoret, as you said. And
Yeah.
you see her pacing around in circles throughout the entire movie, lifting chairs and helping people and doing anything, like putting the salad back into the tray. She's just trying to do whatever she can do just to get away from that environment
Yeah, no,
and just
and
to keep some sanity.
in her defense, it can be extremely stressful to be in that environment. Like, um, as someone who's like a game design major, like when I'm at a thing with a bunch of Jewish old ladies that they're like, "Oh, what's that mean?" And it takes like 20 minutes of explanation, and it's just like there's so many rabbit holes to that you can walk into.
What's a Sprite,
Like-
honey?
Okay.
It's a
No, I
feeling of
get that. I
helplessness.
get that so much because like nobody in my family have actually like said it out loud, but they're all like, she's going to a liberal arts school, kind of, because my cousin is going to UPenn. So they're like, oh my God,
Oh
congratulations,
yeah.
you're going to UPenn. Oh, and Bethany, I can't believe you're going to this, what's that New York school that's really, really good for fashion? Fudge.
Fit
I don't know, but it's like really, really good. Oh, Ruth, where are you going again? Oh, I'm going to Clark.
Yeah,
Is that-
what's that?
Where's that?
Never
And
heard of
Never
that
heard of that
before.
school before.
God, where is that? And like the heart of all of this gossip,
And then you have to say it's an hour out of Boston because nobody knows Worcester.
nobody knows it. My dad just says Boston to make it easy for my relatives.
Yep.
And then, okay, but the heart of all of this gossip is the kitchen, and or the dining table. And I feel like I see you smiling. I'm steering this towards you.
Is it time?
It's time.
Okay,
on.
let's talk about the kitchen. Listen,
No,
That's
you
the way
were
to
ready.
say-
Like you had the notebook. You're like, oh my God, I'm not ready for a speech, guys.
if you noticed, if you noticed throughout this whole thing, I've just been glancing noticeably at the things I have. It's funny because that's actually my songbook, and I just took some pages on it for notes, but I'm getting sidetracked. The table. The house
table.
entirely in general, but we'll start with the table. The table is it's
Okay.
specifically it's tailored, it's oriented, it's also in several other cultures and just families. It's almost depicted in various types of media as a place where everyone gets together, shares things, and I know throughout the no,
It's
nah,
where you it's where you literally break bread.
yeah,
You break
yeah,
bread.
yeah.
He's breaking bread when she eats the bagel. Oh my
But
God.
throughout the entire Shiva, there we go. You notice that Danielle is one of, if not the only person who actually gets food.
Despite
everyone-
people telling
Yes.
her to keep eating.
Yes, exactly.
Ironic,
At least
isn't it?
have the relatives she encounters go, oh, she needs to eat more. She needs to eat more.
She's
No.
anorexic.
One like like when she said, oh, she's anorexic. And no, when that one grandma said the Orient, I was like,
Yes.
she's like, oh, it's studying and protesting in like the Orient. And I was like,
Yeah.
But
sorry.
I think
Oh yeah,
no,
one of the grandmas, she was said, "Oh yeah, what's that? Israel, Palestine? Aren't they like the same thing?" Yeah, that was her comment.
I'm like, you're Jewish and you don't know that? Wild.
Yeah.
but I saw that the table was very much designed for Danielle to take a lap around and listen to everybody else, which I think is funny because everybody else, despite being in the room where the focal point of conversation and communion is, no one is actually getting food and talk. Like they're all talking amongst each other, but it's in not quite whispers, but tones that it's in stage whispers, hush quietness that wouldn't actively. You'd expect people to be talking over food, but instead Danielle's just slowly making the rounds, peeking in on what everyone else is saying about her or about their lives or whatnot. And the house in and of itself is also designed this way. It's designed, or more specifically, it's designed in this roundabout way where everything feels or seems to be not deliberately placed, but not to say that they didn't, not to say that the set design didn't know what they were doing, more so that deliberately scattered. Everything feels like it's been done before, as if this whole experience that Danielle goes through, this whole absolute anxiety attack, well, several onsets of it, it gives to me the illusion that this isn't the first time that this sort of thing has happened, that at least one person in the family has done this sort of final girl circuit in a way. For lack of a better term.
Like a coming of age ritual in a sense.
In a way, but almost more like, I mean, in a kind of culty way.
Place her in a horror
Welcome
movie.
to religion. No,
that's why I denounced it.
Yeah. I think there's the frequency of like, I mean, Shiva is like a lot of people, especially Orthodox Jews, do it for 7 days in a row after the funeral. It's exhausting, and I think that the not only is the event repeating, but the frequency and repetition of the environment. It's like I think we've been here before, and I think there's also some metaphors back to the food thing of everyone saying you should eat well, nobody's eating, like everyone's saying she has to be this and do this. There are definitely some parallels there.
I wholeheartedly agree. And actually, sort of go on the metaphors, or not even necessarily the metaphors, sort of to continue my own short tangent. Well, not tangent. To continue my own rant. I remember one of the key details I noticed specifically is about right before Danielle uses the upstairs bathrooms to send photos to Max. I think we can just call him Max at this point. We know.
He's a sugar daddy.
Yes. Surprise. But the rusty nail, well, not rusty, but the nail in the cabinet.
The nail bothered me. I was like,
yeah.
No, like I physically flinched when she put it in.
Absolutely. But to me, it didn't just it absolutely hurt in a sort of conductive sense. But I sort of more thought back to a lot of family gatherings I have. Like, how many times have you sort of just made the rounds talking to relatives where you wanted to really go do your own thing and you've stubbed your toe on something or you've knocked your hip into something? Like, I can count several times as just a toddler where I've hit my head on the table, not hard enough to actually do any damage, but enough where I'm upset about it.
Yeah, but I'll say that
I also don't want to be that person, but the Zoom has like a solid 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
You know.
One thing I'd bring up about the nail is that getting a nail, like, and seeing the blood, it's a little on the more grim and darker side of bringing back to this horror movie. Then it feels like the way, kind of like a reference maybe to like a slasher movie almost.
Exactly, like the final girl circuit, like how the house is designed.
Like Hush, like a lesser, like Hush is like a horror movie where a deaf girl, it's a whole load of things. Like you see her channeling the Aaron, the Ripley from Alien, but it's just surviving the family reunion, and it's the realest thing ever. But somebody I want to bring in is Maya. We haven't been talking about Maya as much.
Maya is the ex-girlfriend, correct?
She is, yes. She's the ex-girlfriend. She's
the ex, the dreaded ex.
I don't know if any of you have seen the show The Bear, but she's in that. So good.
Oh yes, that's a wonderful show.
No,
The Bear,
the chef one.
Oh, okay.
The Bear is also full of quite intense moments.
Yeah, no, seeing her in a very intense situation again as a girlfriend.
Girlfriend's always.
But it seems like in both of them, she despite what you might see in the Shiva baby, she seems to actually have a more supportive role because she is the one that kind of ties the movie at the end, I feel like.
She
Absolutely.
kind
Yeah,
of
no.
brings it all together. She's like put on this pedestal, like, yeah, she got into lots. She's that cousin.
People are constantly
Mhm.
mistaking
Yeah.
Danielle
Yeah,
for
I
Maya.
literally have
Yeah.
that cousin, like my who just got into Harvard Law School, which is
Oh my god, congrats to them. I'm wishing on your downfall.
yeah.
I'm wishing on, oh my god, congratulations.
Steering back to
Yeah,
Maya.
exactly.
Let's steer it back to Maya. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
So we're like nails are like nails get painted, right? For the older ladies, they paint it like up either a burgundy or a red crimson. So tying back to Zombie,
Mhm.
the red theory.
Mhm.
But Maya's is painted white. And the use of like cooler colors, cooler lighting, it's either used in the bathroom, outside, or in the kitchen. And that's where she catches her breath the most. And so it shows that like even though they may be like quote unquote like rivals or whatever in the whole adulthood thing, Maya is still there to comfort her, and they're going through this together, so in a sense they will be okay.
One thing before we close out, I just want to note is because otherwise we won't get to it. I want to talk about the yellow.
The yellow.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
yellow.
Ah, yes,
I-
the yellow.
Yeah.
See, everyone had the reaction like, oh, here we go. So I think that was the moment where at that point in Shiva Baby, we all just went, okay, why is it hard to breathe in here? I'm spaced out from everyone else. Why is it hard to breathe? Like we all just had this,
The suffocation, yeah.
yes, this simultaneous panic attack. Well, claustrophobia.
It's just it's done so well. It's like in everything works in tandem. The extras, the
Like
my
just the surrounding, like everyone around her, and
like
like
how George
yes,
said, like
like the
like
house,
the house,
the house, the
the
walls
house, the face.
feel like they're closing in on her, and like the yellow just plays such a significant role, especially when it comes to Max and his wife,
Yeah.
and like the whole family together. Just like the yellow, like towards the end when they're all together, and like Danielle feels like Max's wife knows what's going on, and like the house incorporated with the like, and also the artificial lighting, as we know, we discussed this before, like it's like the blinds are like literally being closed throughout the window, like throughout the movie, so like it's become a darker space, like physically as well as for Danielle. And like that one final scene where everything is just so yellow, it's so depressing. Like we can all feel like we were like drowning with her in that point.
We were all a Danny. We were all
I
a
don't know
Danny.
if you guys saw
You could be
Encanto.
yeah. What?
Did you get? I don't know if anyone saw Encanto, but it reminds me of how the
Yes.
house is like literally a character.
Yes.
Even
It
though
is.
like I wasn't
Oh,
the
yeah.
biggest fan of that film, but
Mhm.
like it feels like a really you also see this in like really good atmospheric video games where the world itself feels like has its own personality and character arc.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
The
I
house
feel
Kind of
like
soft. Well,
in this case, I feel like in this case, if anything, the house highlights Danielle's personality, and it's kind of like
A
you can even
reflection
take
of
that back
yeah.
to the nail.
Yeah.
Like the nail,
Yeah.
like if we take it back all the way to the nail, right? It's I feel like for me, it's less so about the nail itself, but more like Danielle's reaction to it, and the fact that it's there in the first place.
Yeah, and it's
Because she
like
could have helped herself, but she didn't.
yeah, and the thing is like the nail wasn't even like a oh my god, this is huge kind of nail. It was a small shallow nail, but like when all of that anxiety is building up, something like dropping like say the vase could lead to like absolutely breaking down and just like falling apart in front of these people, and you don't want to, but you don't know what else to do but cry, which is getting a little bit too real. So can I ask you what we have so far, like how much the runtime?
Wait.
I have a sweater now because I like continuity errors and the room is cold.
It's
So
not a
let's talk
continuity
about
error,
our.
it's a thematic relevant.
Could have gotten a key,
On
but that
set.
would have been
Oh,
fun.
look, it's red. It's red. It's red.
The red.
Oh no.
Okay.
So,
Return
Kinda
of
at
the
the
Red.
worst
post
school
credits,
for that,
I guess
or
we'll
the
call
best.
this.
Okay, so we're basically gonna wrap it all up.
Mhm.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this movie ate. It devoured completely. Like
It was very good.
devoured, like she devoured those bagels. Oh my lord. Like
Okay, I think I mean, I know we're not supposed to be critiquing it. My only complaint was the ending, but I don't know about you guys.
what
Could
was
you
the
elaborate a bit?
I
elaborate,
was
Jacob?
expecting like it to get revealed and like for like a big, I don't know, a big argument to unfold.
Mm, But I would argue that that's the whole
Though I
point of the
think it
movie. Like the underlying anxiety and nervousness that she felt, like
you have to
that's just
just
gonna
keep
go
it in and
on.
deal with it.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
going back to Ruth's
Well,
point about adulthood and how like it's different for the baby and
Mhm.
Danielle. Ruth, would
baby
you like
gets
to
to
expand
cry.
on that?
It's
She does
kind of
not.
like when Shiva baby is if your mom's giving your birth to you first for the second time, you're out of the womb, you're screaming, you're crying, but you can't. You want to. You're experiencing all these new sensations. You just want to cry in your mom's arms, but you can't. You have to have that maturity to be composed, and not only that, but have the magical ability to finally like weave a job out of thin air or get money or have a man. It's all of these expectations pile into one, and you are experiencing the world in a brand new way. But in the end, it's like there's the slight comfort that in the end you will survive and you will
Mhm.
be okay. Are they stuffed into a car you can smell even though you can't smell the scream? Yes, but I could smell the car. I could smell the memories that was in that car. I could smell the Vaseline on the baby that was shrieking. And I could smell the perfume of that old lady who's definitely falling asleep, like next to her. Like you could see, like her face was like, and like next to Danny. But it's a comfort that you will be okay because you are not taking this sort of journey alone. Just like how your mom, like teaches you, your mom and dad teach you how to walk, or like your parents, you're gonna learn how to navigate this new world.
Personally, my interpretation is not that you are going to be okay. It's more that you have to be. You don't really have
Yeah.
another option.
Mhm.
Because like
Really?
personally, I would not be okay if I
Huh.
was in her situation.
If you were a
Like,
sugar baby.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I
but
mean, I think so many of the decisions she makes is because she isn't okay. And
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like I don't know, there's something almost like Romeo Juliet just making the craziest decisions in times of desperation.
You know, I feel like as I was watching the movie, I initially really didn't like Danielle. I almost hated her because of the decisions she makes.
Mhm.
But
No,
now that,
at the beginning, she's not a likable protagonist.
She's not
Yeah.
supposed to be like,
yeah,
she's supposed to be real, yeah.
Mm.
you see, but then you see the ending where Maya holds her hand closely in the van, and you feel like things are going to be okay. You feel like there's a sense of progression. Despite all of this, it seemed like it was going to explode, but then it
Yes.
didn't. And things are just okay.
In a sense,
It's not perfect, but it's all
did.
right.
Yeah, it did sort of explode. The baby shrieking, she's like kissing
It
Yeah,
her.
did, but
in
it
its
was
own
it was
way, it
like an
did.
internal explosion.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like be this goes a lot to the IMR with you're so in the film that you feel like you're experiencing some of these things and that you just want to be able to breathe and like let it all out finally and you don't really get to it kind of gets let out on you instead. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
I'm
Mhm.
gonna
Yeah.
call it the iconic ladybird because oh
Oh,
my
I
god,
love Lady Bird.
those two movies, coming of age icons. it is adulthood. You're never going to be satisfied with what you
Mhm.
got. But that's just going to end up fueling you to keep on living your life and to have the courage to march forward and look back and be like, oh shit, I should have done something different. But be like, well, there's nowhere left to go but forward.
Yeah, carrying off of that truth, I think like the car, like the ending, like the setting was so perfect. Like them being placed in the back of that crummy car with objects falling on their head, just like keeps on adding to her like
Mhm.
feeling of claustrophobia, I would say. But then again, in the end, like it literally screams, "This is adulthood in your face."
You're
Yeah,
gonna
I feel like to add on to that, like them all being in the van together, it almost feels like that condition of being an adult and being part of a community. Everybody is there together and they don't necessarily like each other, but everybody perseveres. Just
Mhm.
In
having
it for the
to,
long haul.
yep.
like also like the mom doesn't really encourage like marriage. Like she's like, oh my god, you should totally get married. But like with her action, she's like, oh my god, I'm so gonna kill you when we get back home. You totally have to like those kinds of
Also,
interactions.
also the whole thing, she was experimenting when she's clear. That pissed me off so much for her, but that's like,
Weird. You're just experimenting.
yeah.
Yeah, that would have
Oh.
drove me up a wall.
No, those relatives screamed, I don't understand how bisexuality works. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
what
I don't expect them to.
Isn't it the same thing as gay or straight? Are you practicing bisexual? Stuff like that. Like, I feel like that's
Yeah.
Uh, well, I
grand finale.
think. Well, I think that overall, I say overall,
Thank God you
that
didn't say the C word.
gosh, that's a phrase. I think that now I'm tempted to say it. Thanks a lot. In conclusion, there we go. Shiva Baby is absolutely a fantastic film. It's able to simulate
No, I hated
claustrophobia.
it. No, I'm kidding.
You know
Sorry.
what? Forget any wisdom or insightful words I had to say. We're ending with that. Forget
You're
No,
forget
no,
right,
Dixon.
man.
no, you started to cook.
No,
Let them
yeah, nope.
Let
No
them
one's getting. Okay, fine. It's a perfect simulation of every family get together I've had as a teenager and what I fear they're gonna get like when I grow up even more. And I'm terrified. And I love it. I love Rachel Sennett in it. Absolutely gave it her all as Danielle. Also saw her in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Fantastic. But overall, the whole cast just sells it. And it's marvelous from start to finish. Is it perfect? I can't be the judge of that. I
No.
Yep.
legally can't.
We're
But
not allowed to do that.
yeah, but
I think to dive a little bit, or not steer a little bit away from just like saying good movie.
Well, we're not even allowed to say that, so.
Yeah, that's what I said, steer away from that.
like the premise was well done.
I think it is.
It's well executed.
It's
Mhm.
yeah, no, the
That's
execution
we
is
could
the
say
hardest
that.
part. I think for it's about as good as it could be considering the situation because of how well it just constantly builds tension and stress in this environment.
it did what it wanted to do.
It did the
Yes,
thing.
precisely.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you all as always. I say
Thank
as always as if
you.
this isn't the first
Thank you.
episode.
This is the 12th. I
Yes.
decided.
Well, hey, maybe it's the
Third
beginning of something new.
I sure hope so.
So
We'll see you
maybe
all
the
next-
real Shiva baby was the friends
Stop.
we made.
No,
Stop.
no, you don't
No,
get
it
to.
absolutely
You don't get
wasn't.
to.
Because who the hell brings a baby to a Shiva?
That's,
Yes.
That's a
All
good
right.
point.
Let's
Well,
end on that.
Who knows what we'll be watching next week, but hopefully we could do this again. And who knows? We might even actually eat cereal. This has
We
been
spoke
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'm Jack Wallace. Again, thank you to
Captain Crunch.
everybody. I say this is my
Captain
show, and hopefully we'll see you again
Whoa,
sometime.
whoa.
Oh my